In a potential shift in strategy, Russia is reportedly considering a limited pause in its aerial attacks on Ukraine to reduce potential economic sanctions from the United States. According to a report by Bloomberg, the Kremlin is exploring a temporary halt in drone and missile strikes, citing officials familiar with the ongoing discussions. This potential truce, however, depends on Ukraine's agreement to terms laid down. The move comes as U.S. President Donald Trump intensifies efforts to end the war, now entering its fourth year. U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff met with the Russian president earlier today, with the Kremlin stating that the 3-hour Putin-Witkoff-Ukraine talks were quote-unquote constructive. Putin's aide, meanwhile, told journalists in Moscow, and I'm quoting here, a quite useful and constructive conversation took place, quote-unquote, adding that besides Ukraine, Russia-U.S. strategic cooperation was also discussed.
On our part, in particular on the Ukrainian issue, some signals were transmitted. Corresponding signals were also received from President Trump.
And according to the Bloomberg report, an air truce could serve as a concession from Moscow to avoid further U.S. penalties, as the possibility of a full ceasefire remains slim, especially given that Russian forces continue to advance on the ground. According to reports, Russian forces now hold about 20% of Ukraine's territory. On the battlefront, Russia has conducted fresh strikes on Ukraine's Zaporizhia region. Ukraine says Russian forces carried out 567 attacks over the last 24 hours across 16 settlements in the region. And according to the Ukrainian officials, Russian strikes killed at least 2 people and injured 10 others in the region.
To see a full restoration.
And according to Ukrainian media, Trump's Ukraine envoy is expected to visit Kiev in the coming days for talks with President Zelensky. Zelensky, meanwhile, said on social media that he had a productive call with Trump, where they spoke about the ongoing hostilities and U.S. policy towards Russia. There has been a spike in Russian aerial attacks in Ukraine in recent weeks. In July alone, Russia reportedly launched over 6,000 drones into Ukrainian territory. That's the highest monthly total since the war started in February 2022. Moscow, remember, has made it clear that any long-term settlement would need to include Ukraine's recognition of Russia's control over Crimea and 4 additional regions.